Hi, everybody. My name is
Hello,
Stephanie. I'm joined
and
today
I'm
by
David.
David.
Hi,
Hi,
sorry.
David.
Hi, Stephanie.
Welcome to all of you joining us today. This is the latest in our series of News Talk. We're delighted that you're joining us. We've got a really nice session lined up today, haven't we?
We have indeed, and this is where Stephanie and I talk about three topics that are very current, very topical, with the objective of getting you to understand how to listen to real, authentic news stories and share your comments with us.
Absolutely. So that's the theory behind what we're doing today. It's called News Talk. And as David says, we select stories that we think are interesting, and we're going to highlight some key vocabulary for you in each story. So we'll show you the three words, and then the idea is try to listen out for these words as we're talking. Once we've discussed the story, and hopefully you've had the chance to type in the chat, you can join in the discussion. We will then share the definitions of the words and we can talk about them as well. So
Cool.
if you are just joining, welcome. Let's introduce ourselves again, David.
As you can see, I'm David. I'm the managing director of Perfectly Spoken, and
I'm Stephanie. I'm the head of educational content. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. So here we go with our three stories we're talking about today, but I wonder if you know what they are. Any ideas?
so we've got three photographs with some clues. And so if anybody's got any ideas of any one of the three, perhaps you could just type them in the chat. So the first one there, extreme heat is causing health woes, health worries across what country?
What country could this be? Any ideas? Type in the chat. Making headlines, this story, so lots to talk about there. The second story will be focusing on a big name here, Ikea. But what are Ikea up to at the moment? What are they doing? Well, they've made this offer. Have you heard about it? And what do you think it's all about? So that's our story number two.
And of course, we couldn't but end with Eurovision, possibly the biggest song contest in the world, and our stories about the winning song and who is surprised by the lead singer, by the front man.
So for missing word number three, we're looking for a person, a family member. Who do you think was very surprised by the winning song? So if you've got any ideas, please do type in the chat. Who do you think we're going to be talking about with story number three? So let's get started then with our first story and find out the answer to which country is suffering at the moment with this extreme heat. Very well done if you said India. It is in fact India that's been experiencing these unusually high temperatures, extreme heat in India at the moment. And of course, the knock-on effect of that, the result of this extreme heat, power cuts, limited water, and heat strokes. A lot of people suffering with heat strokes. I can see that Jennifer has typed in.
Yeah, a very good point. This is a knock-on effect of what's happening in India, is that the country has stopped or halted the exports of wheat because I think they have difficulties having sufficient wheat for their own needs, so they've stopped exporting. Or I think they're now coming to some special arrangement with other countries. But it's all about extremes, climate change. I think the word sweltering is a lovely adjective. When we were little children, if it was hot in our country, and hot is what, maybe 25, 26 degrees, we would say, oof, it's sweltering, it's sweltering. I wonder what temperatures in your country you would think is sweltering.
That's a good point because, of course, it's all relative, isn't it? We're all used to different things. So I wonder what you would consider extreme heat to be. As David mentioned, here in the UK, we're probably going to be feeling it a bit hot, around 25. But in fact, in India, they have reached temperatures of over 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's 48 degrees Celsius. So extreme sweltering heat there.
And I did see actually, and I thought this was interesting because that is very hot. I mean, certainly in countries in the Middle East, you will get those temperatures. But I checked in India, I think the highest recorded temperature was in Rajasthan in 2016 when it reached 51 degrees Celsius, and that's
Wow.
nearly 124 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow.
Now, that, of course, is sweltering. That's very hot, but it's not the hottest ever. I wonder, David, do you know which country has recorded the hottest ever temperature? Not just David, anybody watching, feel free to type in the hottest ever temperature.
That's an interesting one. It's surely got to be a country with a desert, I would think, or
Mhm.
maybe in Africa somewhere.
It's
No,
not what you might expect. It's actually was recorded in America, in the very aptly named Death Valley, where they recorded temperatures of 134 degrees Fahrenheit, so 56.7 degrees Celsius. That really is sweltering, isn't it?
it is indeed. And in this story in India, what's happening then, of course, is that there's a limited amount of water. So people who normally were used to maybe 200 liters a day can only access 100 liters a day. And of course, what's happening is that people are then fighting to get access to those supplies of water.
Absolutely. So again, look at the vocabulary we've selected at the bottom and listen out for us using the words in context. David was talking about limited water there. So let's have a look then, shall we, at the vocabulary we've highlighted. First of all, we've got extreme. So we were talking about extreme heat. Well, something's extreme. It means very large in amount or degree.
And then we said sweltering, and as I say, so that again means extremely as an adverb, but also I think it's that idea when it's very uncomfortable. It's too uncomfortable, isn't it, when you get the heat?
Absolutely. So uncomfortably hot, it's sweltering. And then we have limited. We were talking about limited water supplies. Well, the opposite really of extreme. Limited means small in amount or number. So there's not enough of something, it's limited. And I think just before we move on to the next slide, an interesting point to make, just to put this in context, the hottest temperature ever recorded in the UK was only 38.7, which interestingly was in Cambridge in
Yes.
2019.
Oh, really? That's it. That's very interesting. But that is interesting, isn't it? Because we have a very limited range of temperature, don't we? You know, we
Absolutely.
it's always quite moderate. It never gets extremely hot, or we it is for us, but not for normal people, and it doesn't get extremely cold either.
Exactly. So we're sort of happily in the middle. We don't experience these extreme temperatures. Again, I wonder what it's like where you are. Do feel free to type in and let us know the hottest and perhaps the coldest temperatures you've ever experienced.
That'd be very interesting to you.
Let's move on then. I can see, yes, Jennifer, it's funny information there, isn't it? It's all relative. I mean, for us, that's very hot.
I do, you know, and I think the point is being made. You know, when if you have too much sun on your skin, the effect it can have. I think we tend to say it can look like a prune, don't we, Stephanie?
Yes,
I don't know.
yes,
Sort of
we
like
can. Yes, yes, when your skin becomes that sort of sensation. Absolutely. Okay, moving on to story number two. Now, this time we were talking about IKEA buying back something, and the missing word here was furniture. Now, the story here is that IKEA have made this offer to buy back, to take back furniture. Now, of course, they're not just going to take it back without inspecting it first. So you can't just take back any old item that you bought from IKEA years ago in any condition. It needs to be in a good condition. They will inspect it in order to resell it, to sell it on again.
And that's the important point, I think, isn't it? So that they are possibly being generous, but also at the same time, they want to have it back in their stores so they can sell it, they can resell it to other people. So those people will be able to buy it at a discount. As I understand it, if the condition the condition has to be really excellent, then I think as a customer, if you bring it back, IKEA will pay you up to 50%, up to half of that.
I think it's a really nice scheme. I mean, talking about, sustainability and reusing things. A lot of people have items they no longer need for whatever reason. So rather than simply getting rid of, disposing of, throwing something away, why not sell it back and allow somebody else to buy it at a discounted price?
And of course, I mean, it's a great initiative, but it is relatively limited because, of course, it does include things like tables and bookshelves and desks, um, office cabinets, and they have to be in perfect condition. But what it doesn't include are things like beds and sofas and mattresses. That those are the things that you lie on when you're in bed and go to sleep, or lighting products. But it is a great
It's a
initiative.
start. Yeah, it's a start, and perhaps interesting to see where they go with this. Perhaps they're going to see the popularity, how many people actually take them up on this offer. And again, if you're watching, I wonder what you think about this. Do you have any IKEA furniture in your home? Of course, a global brand, incredibly successful. So I'm sure a lot of people watching will own an item from IKEA.
I mean,
David,
there
what
are.
about you?
I think there are, yeah, about 400. And I think my statistics say 465 stores across the world, and certainly, especially a few years ago, we would always go to IKEA to buy our furniture. But I don't know if you had the same problem, Stephanie, but it was always the challenge. The
Oh,
biggest problem was putting it
the
together, to
headache of,
assemble it.
yeah, the headache of assembling it. But I think now you can actually, they do offer the service where the person delivering it will assemble it for you, because possibly they were having so many complaints about people trying to put together furniture. So they've offered the service of somebody putting it together. Again, I wonder if anybody watching has had any experience of putting together IKEA furniture.
But a wonderful initiative and a wonderful store.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at the vocabulary here then. We've got take something back. Now, of course, if you take something back, we've got a phrasal verb here. You return something you have bought to the shop where you bought it. Now, of course, in this case, it's because you want to get some money for it, but you might take something back if it's faulty or damaged, or perhaps it's not what you were expecting it to be. So a really useful verb here.
Absolutely. And then we talked about inspecting. So of course the store will inspect, they will look very carefully at the item of furniture to make sure it's good or not so good, which will affect its price. And then of course from inspect you get inspector. So an inspector is a person who will again examine something. For example, on a train, you will get a ticket inspector to check you've got the right ticket.
Again, very useful verb there. And then finally, we've got the verb to resell. Remember the prefix re meaning again. So to sell again, sell something that you previously bought. So you bought the product from IKEA, you take it back to them, they inspect it, and then they will resell it to somebody else. Let's move then to our final story. So, did you guess that the person who was surprised was in fact the mother of the band's frontman.
The
So
front
well
man or
done.
the lead singer. I hope. Did anybody watch Eurovision? Apparently, there is something like, and on average, about 200 million people across the globe that watch Eurovision. I
I
wonder
mean, the
if
figures are amazing, aren't they? They're incredible, the viewing figures for this particular show, for this competition, isn't it? It's a contest.
indeed, and I don't think any of us were really surprised that Ukraine won. They had the victory. They won the contest.
As Jennifer said, it was so emotional, wasn't it? Yes, an emotional victory for the Ukrainian band there, Kalush Orchestra.
It was, and yeah, the song. And I have to admit, we didn't watch it, but the song that won, it was, as Jennifer's saying, it was. I think it was a fusion, a mixture. So it was rap with traditional Ukrainian folk music.
Absolutely. And interestingly, they were in fourth position based on the jury voting, but they received a record tally, so a record number of votes from the viewers. So people watching really connected and, as Jennifer said, perhaps felt very emotional watching the Ukrainian band perform.
Yeah, so it was interesting having that two parts. So the first part is when you get these juries. These are these officials, the invited people who then decide on the number of votes they're going to give to particular countries. And then the second part is when it's much wider and it's open to the general public in the countries to, I don't know, they can send in their vote, they can phone in their vote. And that's what really affects the outcome of the voting.
Absolutely. I mean, it moved them from fourth position all the way up to first place. I wonder if anybody watching voted, and if so, who did you vote for? It would be interesting to know.
And yes, and of course, what we would like to remind people is that the United Kingdom actually came second for the first time in many
Amazing.
years.
Amazing. Yes, we were in second position, and I think it was Spain, wasn't it, that came third?
Spain came third, yes. But I don't know if people know, but it's called Eurovision, but countries from other continents already participate. But I think the most
I think we might have lost David for a moment there. Um, I think what he's possibly was going to say that obviously you don't have to be in Europe to participate. So countries from other locations can take part in the contest. Now, an interesting fact for anybody watching, I wonder if you know which country actually has the most wins. So, of course, Ukraine won this time. The UK came second, which was a big surprise and a good victory for us. But we weren't the most. I wonder if anybody knows which country has won the most. Well, the answer is actually Ireland. Ireland have won Eurovision an astonishing 7 times, and 3 of those were in a row. So, um, 3 years in a row, Ireland won, but they're closely followed by Sweden, who have in fact won 6 times. So we'll have to wait to see what happens next year. Jennifer saying, powerful words. I love their coloured outfits. Absolutely. And you've typed in some of the lyrics there, Jennifer. Absolutely. And as you said before, a very emotional song as well. So have a look at the vocabulary we've selected here. We've got a victory, a tally, and a jury. And I think David is going to hopefully join us again. Hi, David.
apologies for that.
You just missed my quiz question, which was, do you know which nation has actually won the most times? I was just sharing that. You do
Yes,
know.
yes, I believe. Ireland?
It is Ireland, yes, 7
Yes,
times, which is
7
incredible.
times. And I think so other countries that have done really well, I think they include Sweden,
Sweden, yeah.
and of course, the most famous band ever to win Eurovision was,
ABBA.
of course, ABBA.
Have to say, bit of a fan. I do like ABBA. Very good to sing along. So yeah, some interesting facts there. And we were just about to have a look at the vocabulary. So while we were talking, we mentioned victory, tally, and jury. But what do these words mean? Let's have a look. So of course, victory, an occasion when you win. Now, this could be in numerous settings. It could be a game, a competition, an election, or even a war. So when you win, you have a victory.
Indeed. And then a tally. You keep a tally. You keep a record or a count of a number of things. So you could have a different kinds of tallies. You know, if you are sharing expenses with friends, then somebody would keep a tally so you know how much each person is spending.
Definitely. And finally, we had a jury, and we talked about the jury voting. Hello, Ines. Thank you for joining us. I wonder, did you watch Eurovision? So, yeah, the jury voted and put Ukraine in 4th place. So, the jury, the group of people chosen to decide the winner of a competition. But you might have also heard this word used in a legal sense when we have a court of law. For example, in some countries, they have a jury who decide whether they believe somebody is guilty or innocent.
Innocent. Yeah, in
Absolutely.
front of a
So we have
judge. And I think that's possibly more common use of the word jury, isn't it?
definitely. But for anybody watching reality TV shows where they have singing competitions, for example, there's often a jury of so-called experts who will decide how well somebody has performed. Okay, so let's move on to our final slide here. David, perhaps you'd like to talk us through this.
Yeah, so this is just a reminder. Please do come and join us at Perfectly Spoken, and do go and watch, listen, and interact with the posts we put on Newsflash. We add topical news items every week that you can listen to, natural voices in English. You can read natural text, and it will absolutely help improve your English.
And I think, as you see here, the point is that you're learning in a clear context and you're learning vocabulary in sentences. So you're really seeing how the words are used. You're not looking at them in isolation. You're listening to them, you're using them, you're learning them in context. And it's all real English. Me and David chatting here, it's English we use every day. So it's natural, it's authentic, and it's real.
And it's the best way to improve your English.
So thank you very much to everybody for joining us today.
Indeed.
Thank you, David. We will be live again the same time next week.
Thank you, Stephanie. And thank you, everybody, for joining us.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.